Welcome back, my friend. If you're a man trying to build a stronger life, a better legacy, and a future your children won't have to recover from, you're in the right place. This is the space where we talk about real responsibility, real growth, and real manhood. Not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet kind that shows up when nobody is clapping, the kind that keeps promises, the kind that stands firm when life gets complicated. Today's conversation is about something deeply personal for a lot of men: fatherhood, presence, and what it really costs when a father is missing, whether by choice, by circumstance, or by conflict. We're also going to talk about a side of this issue that doesn't get nearly enough attention: how narratives, resentment, and character attacks can shape the way a child sees a parent, sometimes permanently. If you've ever waited for someone who didn't come, if you've ever fought just to stay in your child's life, or if you're determined to be the father you maybe never had, stay with me. The following video is a real-life example of what can happen when a father's role is diminished. Let's get into it.
I'm about to be extremely vulnerable because this might help someone. I've never been this vulnerable online in ever, okay? I believe you are as sick as your secrets, and saying things out loud helps free you. So my parents were married and then they had me. I guess their marriage was difficult, so they later got divorced. I don't know why, I don't know the details. All I know is that they separated, so I used to be with my mother 1 week, and then I'll go be with my father the next week, okay? So back and forth. 1 week, my dad never showed up to come and pick me up. I sat by the door, literally waiting and waiting. He never showed up. The following week, I did the same thing. I did this for months, okay? He never came. So I felt so rejected, okay? I still quite literally turn into that little girl when I talk about it. It has changed the trajectory of my life, okay? So I didn't find out until literally recently as an adult that my father did not abandon me. My mother cut him off because she was afraid that he was gonna take me from her. So I literally had to grow up without a father, thinking that my father didn't love me. So I would go on dating these men who were amazing to me. I've had wonderful relationships, and I would literally feel like the love was never enough because my father didn't love me. How could another man love me? So it just fucked me up, okay? For good. So this is why I chose the man that I chose to have a baby with. Everything truly makes sense. And my grandmother tells me this, and I was angry at my mom. Angry, okay? Because how dare you be that stuff fucking selfish and not think of me? You don't think I wanted to have my father? I've forgiven her, now I've made peace with it. But that's why I feel so strongly about cutting parents or cutting the other person off. You don't get to fucking do that. You don't, okay? Because like I said, it scarred me. And now my father is dead, and it haunts me for the rest of my life. Because I literally grew up thinking he didn't want me. That wasn't the case. He was coming. They were returning him, and I was sitting there by that door, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and he never showed up. And I hope this brings me some type of closure, because it literally eats at me all the time, still to this day.
You know, there are some moments in life that look small on the surface, but they carry enormous emotional weight underneath. A child standing by a door, a bag packed, eyes fixed on the driveway, waiting. Not just for a ride, but for reassurance. Waiting for proof that they matter enough for someone to show up. Because when it comes to children, presence is love in its most visible form. A father's responsibility doesn't end at conception. It doesn't end at signing a birth certificate. It lives in the daily, sometimes inconvenient, sometimes exhausting decision to be there, physically, emotionally, consistently, to answer the call, to keep the promise, to show up even when it's hard. Kids don't measure love in grand speeches. They measure it in arrivals, in footsteps, in headlights turning into the driveway. When a father is present, he becomes more than just a parent. He becomes a stabilizer, a compass, the first example of strength that doesn't have to shout, of authority that can still be gentle, of protection that feels safe, not scary. For sons, he models what manhood looks like in real time. For daughters, he often becomes the first standard for how men will treat them for the rest of their lives. But when that presence is missing, the silence speaks just as loudly. An absent father doesn't just leave a physical gap. He leaves emotional question marks. Was I not important enough? Did I do something wrong? Why didn't he stay? And children, being children, almost always turn those questions inward. They don't assume adult complexity. They assume personal fault. That wound can echo for decades, showing up later as trust issues, fear of abandonment, difficulty forming healthy relationships, or a constant hunger for validation that never quite feels satisfied. But here's where the conversation gets uncomfortable and necessary. Not every absent father is absent by choice. Sometimes he's pushed out. Sometimes he's blocked. Sometimes he's erased. When hostility between parents turns into character assassination, the child becomes the battlefield. If one parent repeatedly paints the other as dangerous, uncaring, or unworthy, whether directly or through subtle comments, the child's reality starts to shift. Kids are wired to love both parents. Being pressured to reject one to preserve peace with the other forces them into a loyalty conflict they were never meant to carry. And the cost is enormous. Guilt, confusion, anxiety, and a fractured sense of identity. Because rejecting a parent often feels like rejecting part of yourself. And perhaps the most tragic part is this: the child loses the chance to know the truth firsthand. Their relationship isn't built on lived experience. It's filtered through someone else's pain, anger, or unresolved hurt. None of this excuses fathers who truly walk away. When a man abandons his children, the damage is real and profound. Presence is not optional. It is part of the job description of being a father. Children should never have to wonder whether they were worth the effort. But fairness demands we acknowledge that sometimes the story is more complicated than he didn't care. Sometimes the door wasn't just closed, it was locked. And while adults may be fighting each other, children are the ones absorbing the shrapnel. At the end of the day, kids don't need perfect parents. They need access to love from both sides, without manipulation, without being forced to pick teams, without adult conflicts rewriting their memories. Healthy co-parenting isn't about winning against the other parent. It's about refusing to win at your child's expense. Because long after court dates are forgotten, long after the arguments stop, long after everyone else moves on, that child still has to live with whatever story was written into their heart. A present father can help a child feel safe in the world. An absent father can leave them searching for that safety everywhere else. And a misrepresented father can leave them unsure what to believe at all. So to every father listening, your presence matters more than you think, even when it feels unnoticed, even when it feels unappreciated, even when the situation is complicated. Showing up consistently may be the single greatest gift you ever give your children. And to every parent, mother or father, protecting your child's relationship with the other parent, when it is safe to do so, is not a favor to them. It is a gift to your child. Because a child who is free to love both parents is a child who doesn't have to divide their heart to survive. If this message resonated with you, don't just move on. Sit with it, reflect on it, and most importantly, act on it. Because being a present father isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency. It's about showing up again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until your children never have to wonder where they stand with you. And if you're in a difficult co-parenting situation, remember this: your character will speak louder over time than anyone else's narrative ever could. Keep showing up with integrity. Keep loving your children. Keep building the kind of legacy that cannot be rewritten by someone else's anger. Your presence matters. More than money, more than words, more than perfection. It matters because one day your children will measure love by what you did, not just what you said. If you found value in today's episode, share it with another man who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. And as always, keep doing the hard work of becoming the man your family and your future can depend on. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, and keep building something that lasts. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace.